In the year 1500, there was one city on earth that held the fate of every other city in its hands. Not Rome, not Constantinople, not London, Lisbon. At the peak of the 16th century, this city on the edge of Europe had done something no civilization had ever managed before. It had connected the entire world. Its ships carried the wealth of India, Africa, Brazil, and China into one single harbor, right here. For one extraordinary century, Lisbon was the richest, the most powerful, the most dangerous city on the planet. And then, almost overnight, it was gone. What happened inside these walls will shock you. The gold, the slavery, the genius, the catastrophic arrogance that brought it all crashing down. Today, using advanced AI technology, we are bringing the streets of 16th century Lisbon back to life, in full color, for the first time. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. For one extraordinary century, Lisbon was the richest, the most powerful, the most dangerous city on the planet. Let's begin where Lisbon itself begins, on a hill above a river. In the early 1400s, Lisbon was not yet remarkable. It was a port town of maybe 35,000 people, merchants, fishermen, Moorish craftsmen, Jewish scholars, and a royal court that still smelled of ambition. Perched at the mouth of the Tagus River, it faced west toward the open Atlantic. And that, as history would prove, was everything. While Venice looked east toward the Silk Road, while Genoa counted its coins, Lisbon looked at the one thing everyone else had written off as unknowable: the open sea. The Portuguese crown had a peculiar obsession. They wanted to find a way to reach the spices of Asia without going through the Ottoman Empire, which controlled every overland route and taxed every merchant into ruin. The man who turned that obsession into a mission was Prince Henry the Navigator. And though he himself rarely sailed, he did something that would change Lisbon's destiny forever. He built the infrastructure of exploration. The Lisbon you see here, reconstructed from 16th century maps, engravings, and manuscripts, was a city of radical contrasts. In the Alfama, the old Moorish quarter clung to its hillside warren of narrow lanes, where Arabic was still spoken in doorways and the call to prayer had only recently given way to church bells. Below it, the Baixa waterfront hummed with commerce, a polyglot chaos of Arabic, Castilian, Flemish, Hebrew, and a dozen African tongues. This was not a homogeneous city. It was the world's first truly global city. By 1500, Lisbon's population had exploded. Some estimates put it at 100,000 people, one of the 10 largest cities in Europe. And at its center sat a palace that was about to overflow with unimaginable wealth. Had you ever heard of Lisbon as the world's most powerful city before today? Let us know below. We read every single one. On the 29th of July, 1497, 4 ships left the Tagus River. 2 years later, one man walked back through these streets and changed history forever. Vasco da Gama had found the sea route to India. The cargo he brought back, cinnamon, cloves, pepper, ginger, was worth 60 times the cost of the voyage. 60 times, in a single journey. The Portuguese crown had cracked the code that every European power had spent a century trying to solve, and they had done it from right here, from Lisbon. What followed was the most dramatic explosion of wealth in the history of the medieval world. Between 1500 and 1550, Lisbon became the funnel through which the riches of 4 continents poured into Europe. Indian pepper, African gold and ivory, Brazilian hardwood and sugar, Chinese porcelain, all of it arriving in the same harbor, all of it taxed by the Portuguese crown. The wealth transformed Lisbon in stone and mortar. King Manuel I, who ruled from 1495 to 1521, commissioned a building program that would cement Lisbon's identity for centuries. The Jerónimos Monastery, built to honor Vasco da Gama's voyage, is perhaps the most extraordinary building you have never heard of. Its style, now called Manueline after the king himself, is unlike anything else in European architecture. It doesn't look Gothic. It doesn't look Renaissance. It looks like the sea itself was carved into stone, ropes and coral and armillary spheres and navigational instruments, all twisted into doorways and windows and columns. It was funded entirely by a 5% tax on all spices brought back from Africa and India, every carving paid for by pepper, and rising at the mouth of the Tagus, the Torre de Belém, not merely a defensive tower, a statement, a message to every ship arriving from India or Brazil or Africa. This harbor, this city, this empire belongs to Lisbon. But here is the part of the story that the palaces and the monasteries are not designed to tell you. The Portuguese Empire was built on slavery. By 1550, Lisbon had a population that was nearly 10% enslaved African people, the highest proportion of any European capital in history. They worked the sugar plantations of Madeira and São Tomé. They unloaded ships at the Ribeira waterfront. They served in the households of merchants and nobles, and they were bought and sold at a slave market that stood just a few streets from the magnificent royal palace. The same ships that carried cinnamon and gold also carried human beings in their holds. This is not a footnote to Lisbon's glory. It is woven into every stone of it. And to tell this city's story honestly, you cannot look away from it. At the height of its power, the Lisbon court was one of the most cosmopolitan intellectual environments in Europe. Jewish scholars, Arab cartographers, Flemish painters, Italian bankers, and West African interpreters all moved through the corridors of the Paço de Ribeira, the royal palace on the waterfront. The maps being drawn here were the most accurate on Earth. The navigational calculations being solved here were decades ahead of anything in Paris or London. King Manuel I held court in a chamber hung with tapestries brought from Flanders and lit by candles burned from Brazilian beeswax. He received ambassadors from the King of Congo, from the Sultan of Malacca, from the Emperor of Ethiopia. In 1513, he sent a gift to Pope Leo X that no European had ever seen before, a live Asian elephant named Hanno, which walked through the streets of Lisbon to the waterfront and was loaded onto a ship for Rome. This was the extraordinary, glittering, contradictory world of Manueline Lisbon, and it was about to devour itself. In 1497, King Manuel I issued an edict that would haunt Portugal for centuries. Every Jew in the kingdom must convert to Christianity or leave. Most were forcibly baptized, becoming new Christians or conversos, but the suspicion never left them. Were they secretly still Jewish? Still practicing in private? The Portuguese Inquisition, formally established in 1536, was the machine built to answer that question. And its answer was almost always the same: guilty. The consequences for Lisbon were catastrophic, though the city would not understand it for decades. The converso merchant networks, the Jewish cartographers, the Arabic-speaking interpreters who had made the empire's global trade possible, they fled. To Amsterdam, to Antwerp, to Salonika, and Istanbul. They took their capital, their contacts, their knowledge, and their ships with them. Lisbon had expelled the very people who had helped build it. And the empire, though it didn't know it yet, had begun its long descent. The second half of the 16th century saw Lisbon still wealthy, still powerful, but its foundations were cracking. The spice trade was being undercut by Dutch and English interlopers who had no qualms about sailing directly to Asia and cutting Portugal out entirely. The cost of maintaining forts from Brazil to Mozambique to Goa was astronomical. And in 1578, a catastrophe nobody saw coming delivered the final blow. King Sebastian I led the Portuguese army into Morocco and was destroyed at the Battle of Alcácer Quibir. He left no heir. 2 years later, Portugal, and with it, Lisbon, passed into the hands of the Spanish Habsburg crown. The most powerful city in the world had lost its independence without a single battle fought on home soil. Here is what most history books miss about Lisbon's century of power. It didn't just move spices. It moved the world. The Portuguese language is today spoken by 260 million people, not because Portugal is a large country, but because 16th century Lisbon sent ships to Brazil, Angola, Mozambique, Cape Verde, Goa, and Macau, and those ships carried a language that took root and never left. The tomato arrived in Europe through Lisbon. So did the chili pepper, the sweet potato, and the turkey. The next time you eat a pizza, or a curry, or a plate of Portuguese chicken, you are eating the legacy of the 16th century spice trade. The maps drawn in Lisbon in the early 1500s, the Cantino Planisphere of 1502, the first world map to show the Americas as a separate landmass, laid the foundation for every map that followed. Modern cartography was born in Lisbon. If you are watching this from the United States, Canada, Australia, or anywhere in Europe, Lisbon's 16th century touched your life in ways you have never considered. The route that brought enslaved Africans to the Americas, the transatlantic slave trade, was pioneered by Portuguese ships operating out of this harbor. The sugar economy that transformed the Caribbean was built on methods developed in Portuguese Madeira and São Tomé. The very concept of a global economy, where goods, people, and ideas move continuously between continents, was first made real by Lisbon. And the language of international maritime law, the idea of the freedom of the seas, mare liberum, was a direct reaction to Lisbon's attempt to claim the entire ocean as its own. Whether you know it or not, you live in a world that Lisbon made. At the beginning of this video, I asked you a question. How does the most powerful city on Earth disappear in a single century? Now you know the answer. And it is not the answer most people expect. Lisbon did not fall because of a great enemy. It did not fall because of a natural disaster. It fell because of the choices it made at the peak of its power. It expelled its most brilliant minds. It chose the purity of faith over the pragmatism of commerce. It sent an untested king into the African desert with an army it could not replace. Empires do not fall from the outside. They hollow out from within. And yet, stand on the waterfront of Lisbon today, watch the Tagus catch the afternoon light, and you will feel something that does not feel like defeat. It feels like memory, like a city that knows exactly what it once was and has made peace with it. The stones of Belém are still standing. The language of Camões is still spoken by 250 million people. And the routes that Portuguese sailors scratched into those early maps 5 centuries ago are still the arteries of the global economy. Lisbon ruled the world for 1 century, and the world has never fully recovered from it. If this story moved you, if you found yourself seeing the 16th century differently, like this video and hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who love history the way you do. And before you go, I need to tell you about the figure we promised. A poet, a soldier, a man who lost an eye fighting for the empire and spent his life turning that loss into literature. His name was Luis de Camões. Let us know the next city you would like us to talk about in the comments, as we are here to bring your desired videos your way. See you in our next video.